What's going on, Jets fans? Welcome to another edition of Jets Latest, where you get the latest on the Jets. I'm your host, the spitting statistician, Dane Martinez, and we enter an interesting time of the football calendar, okay? A few weeks ago, it was the start of free agency. Everybody was all abuzz with the fresh new signings early in free agency, where we obviously landed Justin Fields as our new quarterback. But now, a lot of the guys have signed, and most teams are, quite frankly, turning their attention to the NFL draft. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a reset on where we are. The Jets, actually, I think, are in pretty decent shape. They have flexibility financially, and they have the draft assets to go ahead and figure out what they want to do. And they can kind of be patient. They can let free agents or the draft board kind of fall to them. And I think that this approach has been smart. I think it saves them money, and I think it provides them flexibility. So here's where we stand. The Jets, as per over the cap, actually have $27+ million left under the cap. That is right in the middle of the league. I think they have like the 15th most money. But they also have technically 72 players on their roster right now with that cap space. And having 72 players on the roster actually means that they have more than about 11 of the teams that have more space. So when you look at it on balance, the Jets are pretty much on budget and okay. And this is also, they still have Alan Lazard on their roster. Remember when they made cuts and told Aaron Rodgers they were moving on, or they cut CJ Mosley? A lot of people thought they were going to be moving on from Alan Lazard as well. They haven't officially done that, and they haven't taken off his $11 million salary. Now, he may get traded. He may be a post-June 1st cut, which can save them a little bit more money as well. I think this, in the middle of the pack, with the roster size that they have, gives them some flexibility. They have money to go ahead and pounce if they want on a veteran who gets cut, whether that be now or into training camp. Or what I think they could be saving some money for, and we've discussed this on Jets Latest as well, is the idea of extending one of their big-time young players, whether that be Sauce Gardner or Garrett Wilson. So we'll see, but they do have that kind of flexibility. And as I've been saying, with this youth movement, they will sprinkle in some vets later on that could be kind of the veteran minimum, and they will have money to do that. We'll look at a couple of options at wide receiver for them to do that a little bit later on in this show. But one of the things that is approaching here is the NFL draft. And we've been talking, just like with tight end, could it be Tyler Warren? And I showed you in a previous edition of Jets Latest who some of the kind of other tight ends like Loveland and Taylor could be available in rounds 2 and 3. I want to do the same for wide receiver, okay? Because a lot of people are out there saying the Jets still need to address the wide receiver position. And I think they will. Quite frankly, they still have Lazard. Could he be the veteran wide receiver? I think that's possible, but not at an $11 million kind of cap hit, right? I mean, there's a lot of people out there saying to go ahead and get Stephon Diggs. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think he's going to command too much money. But there is a surplus of veterans out there. Guys like Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Deontay Johnson, Tyler Lockett. And then, quite frankly, there are others that I don't necessarily think would be an upgrade from Alan Lazard. Guys like Robert Woods, Nelson Aguilar, Tyler Boyd, Allen Robinson. So there is still plenty of options there. But as I have been saying here on Jets Latest, I think the draft is going to be a place for them to get another wide receiver. I no longer think it's going to be Ted McMillan at number 7. I am starting to think it's going to be the offensive lineman out of Missouri, Membu, at number 7 overall. That's why I gave you second and third round options for the Jets at tight end on a show last week. But look at some of the options at wide receiver here, because the Jets, they have 3 picks in the top 75, right? With numbers 42 and 73. And here are some wide receivers who may be available at the second or third round who could legitimately be a nice piece for the Jets, especially when you consider that Garrett Wilson is only 6 foot tall, 180 pounds. He's a great wideout, but he's more of a shorter, lankier wide receiver. I think the Jets are still in the market for a bigger body at wide receiver on the outside as a red zone threat. Here are some guys that could fit that mold. The first is Jack Beck out of TCU. He's 6'1", 215. He was an all Big 12 wide receiver, 62 grabs, over 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns last year. You may remember this guy's name. First of all, he's got really good ball skills. He's got great hands, and he kind of positions and uses his body well against defenders at the point of the catch. But you may remember Jack Beck's name because, unfortunately, His brother Tiger, who was a wide receiver at Princeton, was one of the victims killed in the New Orleans New Year's Day kind of terrorist attack where the truck ran down Bourbon Street. Jack's brother Tiger was killed in that attack, and you may have heard this because Jack then balled out at the Senior Bowl. He was actually the Senior Bowl MVP, caught 6 balls for 68 yards, the game-winning touchdown, and dedicated his effort to his brother Tiger, wore his number to kind of honor him. So that's a great story, but he could also be a great fit for the Jets in the second or third round. Another guy who could be a great fit is Trey Harris out of Ole Miss, another bigger-bodied wide receiver, 6'2", 205. He was a second-team All-American at wideout in only 8 games last year as a senior, had 60 grabs and over 1,000 yards. He profiles as one of these bigger wide receivers on the outside as well. Long strider, could be there for the Jets in round 3, and I would like that, even if they go O-lineman at round 1. They get one of these tight ends I talked about in round 2. Trey Harris may still be there in round 3 out of Ole Miss for the New York Jets at number 73 overall. Another name to watch, another big body, big frame wideout could be Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. This guy is 6'4", 215, and he's tall, right? But no, of no relation to T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals. Another big, long, wide receiver who is physical, creates separation. He's 6'4", but he has a 6'7" wingspan at 79 inches. He was a third-team All-American as well. 87 catches, 9 touchdowns, almost 1,200 yards receiving. So I say all that to mean we all know the Jets need to get a pass catcher, and I do think they're going to do that, whether it be in the second or third round of the draft, and then sprinkling in a veteran at wide receiver. And then your wide receiver room, 5 wideouts, become Garrett Wilson, a second or third round pick, a vet that I think you're going to be able to get on a minimum contract because of the surplus out there, the signing of Tyler Johnson, and remember last year's third round draft pick, Malachi Corley. I don't think that is a bad wide receiver room. Like if the Jets wind up and their number 2 wide receiver is Tyler Lockett, or their number 2 wide receiver is Deontay Johnson, or a guy like Keenan Allen, you pair that with Garrett Wilson, Tyler Johnson, and 2 up-and-coming kids that are drafted inside the top 100 picks, and I think you have a decent, young, growing wide receiver room, to be quite honest, and that would fit the mold of what these Jets are trying to do. And quite frankly, they are probably going to get more money here when they figure out what they're going to do with Allen Lazard. All right, so that's a little bit of a look at the wide receiver room. I think the Jets, again, have that flexibility. If they really like one of the wideouts that are there in round 2, they can pounce and get the tight end in round 3, or vice versa, and they can go to the surplus of veterans at wide receiver that I've named, that they can go out and kind of pluck at a cheap price to not break the budget and still have money to maybe extend Garrett Wilson. The one other thing I want to talk to you guys about today is, for a long time in the offseason, we were talking about the Jets draft picks as number 7 in the first round, number 42 in the second round, and then number 92 in the third round. But the Jets actually, through a kind of twist of fate, moved up their third round pick by a good 20 spots. It is not number 92. It is actually number 73, which I think is a big difference. Here's how this happened, and it's a little bit of a convoluted story, and it's tied to the Las Vegas Raiders and how they went and acquired Geno Smith from the Seattle Seahawks about a few weeks back. Now, that pick, number 92, came from Detroit. Okay, and it came to New York through Las Vegas in kind of a conditional draft pick trade that the Jets made last year during the draft. But it was a conditional pick that the Raiders were supposed to give the Jets, changing their third round pick. Well, when the Seattle Seahawks traded Geno Smith to the Vegas Raiders, the Raiders actually gave that pick, number 92, which is originally from the Detroit Lions, to the Seattle Seahawks. And that kind of, remember, conditional, that nullified the conditions on the trade they had made with the New York Jets, which means now the Jets revert back to their original third round pick, which is number 73 overall. And quite frankly, 73 is a lot better than 92. They now have 3 picks in the top 75. I think they're going to wind up getting 3 starters. A starter at right tackle, a pass catcher that at wide receiver to pair with a vet, to pair a Garrett Wilson with an oncoming Tyler Johnson, with an oncoming Malachi Corley, and address the tight end position as well. But you may have heard out there earlier in the offseason that the Jets were picking 92 overall in the third round. That Detroit pick, no. It is actually their own third round pick, number 73. So 7, 42, and 73, you're going to be able to get some high-level assets for that. So that's what I'm saying here. The Jets really have some flexibility money-wise and draft asset-wise to be able to be patient, not force anything, read the board, get the best offensive lineman available because of the way the draft is going to fall with Abdul Carter, guys like Travis Hunter, maybe even Ashton Genty and the quarterbacks getting picked ahead of them. The Jets have organized and they are in good shape. I will say this. This is a period of time where we may not hear about a ton of free agent signings as we move forward and look to the draft because teams will look to answer their draft needs, fill their holes in the draft. And that's why all those wide receivers who still haven't signed, it is going to be them waiting, to be quite honest, and the market will get lower and lower, and that's how the Jets have organized being able to pounce. I think it's smart, so don't panic. We're going to make the moves we need to. This is another edition of Jets Latest. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell a Jets fan friend to tell a Jets fan friend, because here you get the latest on the Jets, Jets. If you want to go ahead and hear more from me, remember, go on over to SiriusXM Radio. I am the host of the FTN Fantasy Show. It is a great data and fantasy site, giving you tools, giving you rankings, giving you everything you need to win your leagues and win that cash. That'll do it for this edition. I'll be back tomorrow giving you kind of the lay of the land, the updates, the buzz around the green and white. So have a great day, everybody. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow. We out of here. Peace.